Self. Guys, welcome back to another episode of Masala Chai. Today we have Dad's Den, Ken Lee here with us together. I'm so happy to have you here on the show. I remember, I was just telling Ken here before we started. 3 years ago, I had contacted him and I was like, "Would you like to get on the show here?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not? Why not?" But we unfortunately we couldn't make it happen. But I thought to myself, I was like, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna do it. And so that's what we're doing here today. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a huge fan, and I didn't tell you that before. I kind of did grow up watching your videos, and I think if there's like anybody who I think of when someone says content creator, I think you'd be one of the first few people I think of. And
Wow,
yeah, and
what an
so
honor.
thank you for
Wow.
doing what you do. And so yeah, I wanted to bring you into the podcast because I thought you would have some really insightful thoughts on what it takes to essentially start this journey. A lot of people nowadays don't have that limitation to just get up and start doing whatever they want because in this day and age, in the digital age, you can do anything, and you are an example of that. And so I thought it would be perfect if we could get you to share a little bit about what inspired you to start the content that you started making, particularly your interests in, I think, Indian cinema, particularly, right? And I think as an Indian, I'm a Tamil myself, and that was one of the first few questions you asked me because you were like, "Oh, this guy doesn't sound that like he's from Tamil Nadu, right?" And so while that aside, it's always nice to have our culture appreciated by someone who's not from that culture. And I think that applies to every culture, right? And so when I came across your channel, and I think a lot of I think that's why you have a huge following. When other people saw your content, appreciating your reactions, we all loved you. So tell us a little about that. What made you start like your first video, your first reaction video?
Gosh, man. So it seems so long ago now. You'd say you grew up with me. Man, make me feel old over here, dude.
Well, no,
Uh,
no, of course not.
well, I'm just kidding. Um, actually, so my YouTube journey, it was weird. The whole, I grew up watching musicals with my mom. My mom over here in the United States, we had like back in the 50s, the 40s and the 50s, there was a lot of the movies had musicals. There was, I could think of a ton of them. There are movies like Oklahoma, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, all these different movies. And that's what we grew up watching and listening and seeing. And so to me, I loved movies with musicals. Well, of course,
Okay.
Hollywood developed and that was kind of just not cool anymore. It wasn't just
Yeah.
wasn't the norm anymore.
Yeah.
So I started making YouTube videos with my kids actually, because my kids wanted to make YouTube videos. I have two special needs boys
Hmm.
and they wanted to do like toy reviews because they were watching all these kids. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Cause I thought people might make fun of them, cause they're special needs. Then I thought about it. I'm uh, like, who cares? Like our motto for our children has always been let nothing hold you back. That's kind of like our thing for them. So we're like,
Okay.
they want to do it. Let's do it. And little did we know it actually helped with their speech development and
Wow.
language. And because they were trying to copy these other people that
Right.
they were
Right. Right. Right.
hearing. And so it like became really cool. So then from there, it transitioned into making family videos, family vlogs to where we can inspire other families with special needs to just live your life to the fullest. Who cares what anybody thinks, and just inspire other families to live like that. So that's how I got into YouTube. How I
Okay.
got into Indian content was I had a friend of mine who actually was born in Mumbai,
Okay.
and he moved over to the United States, I think when he was maybe like two years old or something like that. And so he was actually one of my best friends growing up. He
Okay.
lived,
All right.
we played on the same sports teams, and he was like one of my best friends. So later on in life, after he saw me making videos, and then another friend of mine, they're like, dude, I'm going to send you this video. It was Rowdy Baby with,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Danush and Sai Pallavi. And he's like, I'm going to send you this video. All I want you to do is just record yourself watching it, and that's it. And just tell people what you think about it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, trust me. He's like, number one, you love movies. Number two, you love musicals. He's
Yeah.
like, this is the Indian culture. This is the Indian film industry. Like I think you would love it. Just do it. Trust me. And I'm like, okay, sure. I record Rowdy Baby, and I just loved it. I thought it was so cool. The dancing, the music, the cinema, the scenes, and like the sets that they build and all this stuff, and with the shoes that, so I pull out, like all the fun stuff. I was
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So I'm just like watching it, kind of reacting to it. And then he's like, all right, dude. He's like, I want you to start a channel and then upload that video. I'm like, what are you talking? He's like, dude, trust me. There's like, he goes, your appreciation for music and movies is like, people are going to see that passion. People are going to love it. I'm like, dude, I'm boring on like, and I'm like, reaction channels. So I start watching reaction channels, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're so like animated and like over the top. I'm like, I'm boring. I'm just like, and he's like, dude, just do it. So fine. I uploaded the video and here we are today, man. And then the craziest thing is I kept getting comments like, why are you only watching Donald content? You should watch, this or that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't know what Donald content was.
Right.
I didn't know. I thought everything was Bollywood.
Right. Yeah.
I had no idea. Everything I was watching was South Indian stuff though.
Okay.
And I didn't realize, but what it was I was falling in love with the style that the South Indian, because I did some reactions to Shah Rukh Khan and some of the North Indian stuff. I just wasn't feeling the vibes.
Okay.
And then, but I was just falling in love with South Indian content, especially like Tamil content. And then I started, and then, dude, it was just bananas, man. And then I really fell in love with like actors and actresses and the movies. And then I started watching films, and then it was like game on, man.
Yeah, you fell into the rabbit hole, didn't you?
Oh my goodness. And I couldn't get out.
I think I had a very similar experience with a few of my friends who were not Indian. And whenever they used to come over to my house when I was a kid, I used to like I'm a huge Vijay fan, Talapati fan. Huge. There's actually a master poster right behind us as we speak. That's how big of a fan I am. And so I decided to like show 5 of his films to him. Okay. And the next day he was like, bro, I'm a fan right beside you. And I was like, that's great. And so we went and watched, I think it was Mersal or Bigil, one of those films in cinemas afterwards. And it was a great experience because like it was just a few films that makes people, just appreciate and truly like learn another culture, which I think we need a bit more of that, right? Because I think everyone is judging nowadays, and especially on online and social media. And I loved what you mentioned about, who cares what people thinks, right? Because I think if you limit yourself with that idea that, oh, people are going to judge or people are going to talk, then you really can't do much in life. And I love that you raise your kids in that aspect, because I think a lot of parents should do that nowadays. So, just push their kids to the maximum. And yeah, I think that is one of the most beautiful things I liked about your content initially. I thought that it was very genuine. I thought it was like, you actually liked the content. I see a lot of other people who do similar content to yours, and you can see like it was quite animated, right? It was like, you do it on purpose just to get that video out. But yours wasn't like that. Yours was like, oh my God, he actually likes that stuff. He's quite, he's interested in it. And so I was like, wow, fair enough. And so, I had like a mindset when I was a kid. I was like, okay, that's Den. He makes fun family content with the reactions and all that, which is kind of like why, like I initially kept calling you dad. And it's kind of because like I felt like you were also like my dad, because we were watching movies and like reacting to songs together. And so that's the kind of relationship that I think you've built with your audience. And I think that's a very strong relationship that you have. And speaking of relationships with audiences, you're also a huge fan. You're also a huge fan of hip hop Tamra, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm right alongside there with you. I'm a huge fan, and I actually had the great opportunity to meet him last month. He came to Singapore, and I'm living in Singapore. He came here for a concert, and I was given an opportunity to meet him through a press meet, and I had not too much time with him, but I had a few minutes to talk to him personally. But before that, there was this like this press meet conversation that was like going on. It was like a fireside chat. And one of the things that he mentioned was how, it's about building the audience, right? Everyone calls him Anna. Everyone calls him, older brother.
Yeah.
That's that relationship he gets. And when he said that, the first thing I thought about was, oh, that's Dan. Because when we think about that's Dan, we think about dad. So I know for a fact that you're also a huge fan of him, and you've had him in your channel. You've had an interview with him. So what about that? Can you tell us a bit more about you and your relationship with Hip Hop Tamara?
Yeah. So first off, Adi is he's an amazing person. He's very genuine. He's been through a lot in his life. There's been a lot of ups and downs for him in his career and everything, but he just continues to stay the course. And he's true to his fans, and it shows. But yeah, so how I actually met Adi and started talking with him and becoming friends with him is the craziest things.
Do tell.
Yeah, this is like near the beginning of when everything started with me, and I started like falling in love with the content and all this stuff.
Okay.
And I found a song, and I hadn't even reacted to it yet, actually. But
Okay.
I found this song, Takura.
Yes. Takure. Yeah.
Takura, Takura, Takura.
Yeah.
That song. And I found it, and I was like, dude, what is this song, dude? And then that beat came in, and that music, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I had that song like on repeat for like a month, like just listening to it.
Yeah.
Like I was vibing to it. I was chilling
I
to
can
it.
relate. Yeah.
And so it was 4th of July here in the United States.
Independence.
And I remember I was barbecuing, I was grilling some food, and I had that song playing in the background, and I was just, so putting out content. I was just like a little, I think it was an Instagram reel. That was all it was. And I just, I was just vibing to it. I'm like, I'm just going. And then I just posted it. And somebody tagged Hip Hop Tamila, and, Adi and Jiva. And he replies, and he shares it. And he's like, dude, even people in the United States are vibing, whatever. And that was the first time I'd ever like, any
first
interaction
then. Yeah.
And I was like, holy smokes, dude, he just shared my thing. And I was like, what is this, dude? I thought, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So I messaged him. I'm like, hey, thank you so much, for sharing, love the song. That was it. And he replied. I was like, whoa, this is like a massive artist in Tamil Nadu, like replying to me. I'm like, that's so cool. And so he just replied. He's like, hey, no problem, man. Thanks for vibing to the song. Like, it's so cool to see people, from other countries loving our work. So that's kind of how the relationship started. Then just over the years, it kind of just flourished a little bit.
Yeah.
I always reacted to any of his new stuff because I just loved it so much. He started noticing it. So he actually reached out and was just like, man, I just love how thank you so much for sharing, and reacting, and excuse me. And then the friendship just kind of developed, and eventually he was just like, he's like, dude, I asked him, like, hey, will you come on my show? And he's like, absolutely, dude. We got to work this out. So eventually we got it worked out, came on the show, and, and he's like, because I used to do like rapping and stuff. And he's like, dude, I want to have you in one of my songs too. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's still on the back burner. Who knows if that'll ever happen.
Right. I hope it does. I remember when you first, because that was the thing. I remember you said it in one of I think it was your interview. I think he said it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, that's Dan with Hip Hop Tamara. I was like, that's insane. That's going to be a crazy interview. And it was. And I genuinely really enjoyed it. I was like 2 of my favorite people together. And that's very nice.
It was fun.
Yeah. And what he had to offer to me was was what I think I like to call a fire or motivation. See, I myself, I mean, I know you don't know much about me myself, Ken, but I'm essentially like a content creator. I'm a comedian. Make well, I say funny, but I make funny reels on Instagram, and people seem to enjoy it, and so I have a bit of a following, and I've started to get a bit of traction, and that's kind of how I was invited to the press meet itself. It seems someone had seen one of my videos, and they were like, "Hey, this guy seems to be doing something right at least." So they was like, "Let's bring him over," and so they brought me over to the press meet, and I had my first interaction with one of my most favorite artists. I think the most favorite artist. And I think that was a surreal experience. And it just gave me a fire because I think he said something in the press meet. He said that, opportunities present themselves, but essentially you take them or you don't. If you take them, you get to see where that leads. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, he's saying that, and I'm seeing myself in a presented opportunity. So I'm like, this is the opportunity. I should take it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make content. I'm gonna start doing things that I think I believe, because I couldn't believe in myself, but I had other people who believed in me, and they put me up on that spot. So I was like, maybe I don't value myself as much as they do, and so that really kicked into me. Were there periods in your journey where you felt like that, like a potential imposter syndrome, perhaps?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, yes, I think. I think at the beginning, like when I was, especially with the reaction videos, I was really afraid that, because I saw other reactors like you were talking about, and they just seem so fake, and like, it's like, there's no way that they act like that in real life. I'm like, that's just, but it's so over the
Yeah.
top, and they're getting all these views, and I'm like, well, that's what everybody wants. I'm like, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to act. I just, either I like it or I don't, and I'll just be myself. If people like it, that's cool. If they don't, and at first I was just like, man, this is going to be, like I said, boring. Nobody's going to like
Yeah.
this, because it's just some, a dad, like an older guy. I mean, not that I was old, but just a little bit older,
You're right.
watching this stuff. And so, yeah, there was times where I'm like, I don't know about this, but then this is the one thing I'd love. And I think why I felt in love with even more with the Indian culture was the people. It
Yeah.
ultimately, I
Understood.
was enjoying the content, but oh my goodness, dude, the comments, the people, the reach outs, the love that I was getting from the people. That's where I was like, holy smokes, dude. Like there's a connection here. Like,
Mm.
I'm making relationships now. This isn't just anymore just me making content for fun. It
Yeah.
became like part of my life, like
Right. Right.
making these relationships. There's still people that I would message on Instagram, become friends with, that who are just viewers, who are like I
Mm.
consider friends. I actually started Dadston Gaming with some of my followers who actually became some of my best friends. Shout out to CHAII. Shout out to, my homies over there. Like, we started Dadston Gaming,
Yeah.
and they were all Tamil speaking people, and it
Right.
just became like, it became like family. It was
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. You have no idea how many people have like, hey, when you come to Tamil Nadu, please stay at my house. Please stay at my house. Like, we'll take care of you. You'll be part of our family. And like, and that's really, those connections really are what keeping me attached today, because I really don't have a lot of time to make reactions anymore, because I have I have a full-time business now.
Right.
And so it's very difficult to find time, but I want to keep doing it because, number one, I love it. But number two, just know that I don't want to lose those connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what we said is right. I mean, I think from an audience perspective, I also noticed that you stopped uploading not as consistently as you would before, and that's because of your media company now, right? You're running a full time. I mean, congratulations on that. I mean, that's obviously a big feat that you've achieved. So what has essentially what happened? Like, was it like a transition between your regular YouTube videos to now doing larger projects, or what is it that what is it that you do?
Yeah. So actually, the building Dadston and building my three other channels, because I have a tech review channel and all
Yeah.
this, my other stuff, it actually opened other doors for me. So now a lot of people don't know this, but I used to be a police detective. And that was my full-time job. Like when Dadson first started, the inside people knew that, all my good friends, my Dadson gamers and all that stuff.
That is a shocker to me. I did not know that.
Yeah.
You were a detective at your, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Police detective, and retired now. But at the time I was full-time police officer, and got promoted to detective. I was a full-time detective until just 3 years ago. And I retired, but I was doing Dadson. I was doing all these things and building my so-called career, right? Like in this world, and learning YouTube, learning all this stuff. And so I actually moved from the Los Angeles area to Idaho, and here in the United States. And in the move, I was just going to come up here and be a police officer up here. But the real estate agent that I worked for, or for a little while when I moved up here, he was helping me buy a house. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you know anybody who's looking for like a media manager, social media manager, somebody to build their YouTube channel? And he's like, actually, I am. So I ended up actually leaving law enforcement to go full-time into this world.
Wow.
And
Okay.
after working for him for 2 years, I ended up starting my own business. Now I manage, probably over 30 different YouTube channels where I manage all their content. I have editors. I have a team. We manage all of their content. I do monthly coaching with all of them, how to make content better, how to do it. And it's all 100% real estate stuff. So it's not even in the world of entertainment that I was dealing with that Den. So it just opened doors for me though. And here I am now. So
I think that's quite, no one would have expected that, at least. I think from the audience perspective, just on a flat audience perspective, no one would have assumed that, the kind of content that you made would eventually lead you to achieve greater things. But that's actually quite, I mean, that's not, I feel proud of you. You know what I mean? Like even though we're not related, or like I haven't met you before, there's a sense of, wow, okay.
But that's that connection though. You remember, like
the connection you mentioned, right?
Yeah, there's that connection there just from watching videos together. And essentially that's what I wanted to create. I wanted to be like, when I'm reacting to something, you're watching it with me. We're doing this together. And when I first started, I didn't know I was doing that, but that's what it became. But that's why there's a connection between you and I, even though we didn't even know it. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's something that, I mean, I'm going back to Adriano, but it's the fact that he says the same thing about his music. And I think you could argue it's the same for films, music, anything that's on the spectrum of music or art in the sense, right? Because essentially you're going beyond a boundary of just physical relationships. You're relating in content, in emotion. And I think that's why I can very, very openly and freely talk to you like this, even though this is the first time we're like actually conversing together. But I feel like, I've actually known you for a very long time, quite a few years. Like I was one of the first, I think I was still one of your, like when you had like 50K, I think that's when I joined in.
Nice.
So that was a very long time ago. And so, and I'm like, yeah, so I know you for a while. And a lot of my friends, a lot of people, I haven't told anybody I'm actually talking to you, by the way. So
nice.
So it's going to be a big surprise. And a lot of them are like, oh my God, I love Dad's Den. And one of my friends would always open up one of your channels, and he'd be like, hey, look, we should play this game. Or like, oh, you should watch this movie. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. It goes back again to your audience. How do you mentioned that you keep, you maintain that relationship that you do with your audiences. How are you going to keep doing that in the future? Are you going to like, focus, or are you going to, target, going back into reactions, or are you going to like, just like push it out once in a while? Because I feel like there are a few things that, I mean, if you ask me, I would give you 100 things to react, but of course you won't have the time. But at the same time, I think a
Right.
lot of people like me who are, crazier fans of your content and what you do would be like, why isn't he reacting to anything? You get those comments a lot
Oh my
nowadays.
gosh, dude. I've been getting so many messages in the last like year just on Instagram, like, hey, where's the reactions? We miss it. Like, so, I mean, when I say so many, it's in the hundreds. I mean, easily, and I feel bad. I do. I feel like, gosh, and I just reply, I'm like, hey, man, thank you so much for the support. I've started my own company. I'm just crazy busy. It's really hard for me to do
Right.
this.
Right.
But actually, there is some projects in the work for Dad's Den. So this is the first that anybody's going to hear about this.
That's
So
nice.
yeah. So I actually have a friend who is a longtime friend made from YouTube. His name is Jeevan, and he is. We just got him set up with some mics and some camera gear, and so the new direction of Dad's Den. If this works, we'll see if it works, how people receive it. So he is actually going to go out and we're going to explore India together he will be out in the streets showing me different places, and we're going to be talking. I'll be here. He's going to be there. He'll try food. He's going to show me all the different places that people visit, shopping centers, restaurants, temples, anything that we think that I would want to explore if I was there. Basically, he's going to be my eyes and ears, and he's going to be live there. I'll be here, and we're going to explore India together. Since I can't make it out there, I want to explore some way. So this is how we're going to try it.
That
I don't know.
is very interesting. I will say, I don't think anyone's ever done that before.
I don't think so either. It's going to be weird,
Yeah.
but we'll see how it
Wow.
goes.
Well, that's great. I mean, the fact that you're trying to make an effort to do that itself is, I think, a very interesting thing. Right. Okay. I mean, maybe you should do something similar to Singapore as well then. Have you been to Singapore before?
I have never been to Singapore. Nope.
Well,
Nope.
guess what, Ken? I'm opening new doors for you.
Dude,
Anyways,
well, I saw Hip Hop Tamila's reception over there. Like, because, I
right.
see all his Instagram stuff. Holy
Yeah.
smokes. You guys went bananas for him, dude.
We did. And, he actually mentioned, no, not him, the production company, Maestro Productions, who actually did the concert, they have actually told him, like, oh, you might not get a lot of people to come to the show. You might not have a lot of, the expectation. They set the expectations very low. But to him, when he came to the press speed and then when he went to the show itself, it blew his mind. Like it was actually quite insane. And I was there. I was in the standing right and very, very front. And I can tell you, without a doubt, that was one of the best concerts. But apart from that, it was a lot of people. It was like almost fully sold out. And
That's awesome.
and I was like, huge amount of people there. And he was very overwhelmed with the amount of love that he received. And I mean, he actually met his wife in Singapore. You might know this.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, well, he did, and that was something he shared with us, and so he actually has a special place, a special, Singapore has a special place in his heart, and so yeah, and I think, apart from the fact that you're trying to explore India, if you ever want to come to Singapore or anything, you now have a contact.
There we go, baby. Love
There we
it,
go.
man.
But I'm very excited for you and for that. Isn't your wife also Indian? If I'm not wrong,
She actually is not.
she's not.
She's not. Everybody thinks she is. It's so funny. When I started this journey, it didn't even cross my mind. But like people are like, "Oh, his wife is from Tamil Nadu. You can tell she's she's so pretty.
Right.
She's Indian." I'm like, no. I'm like, she's full on Mexican. Like,
Oh, really?
100% Mexican.
That is a shocker because she looks very, very Indian.
That when I first met her, I actually thought she was Indian.
Oh, okay.
In college, yeah. So I remember I was in a college group and it was a bunch of us, and she walked in the room with some friends, and I was like, "Whoa, holy smokes!" I went to my best buddy. I'm like, "Who's that, dude? I gotta go talk to her, dude. She's smoking hot, dude." But yeah, I actually thought she was Indian the first like 3 times I talked to her, and then finally she's like, "Oh no, I'm Mexican. I'm Mexican." I'm like, "What?" So yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
That is quite insane. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's something because I think a common misconception is a lot of people do think that your wife is Indian, but well, that's good to know. That's not the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she is
Um,
learning how we're learning how to cook Indian food. So that's
really.
actually something that we've been working on like for the last few years here. She makes some good, we love butter chicken and
Mm.
so, and homemade naan. Like we've been working on that. It's good. So yeah, it's pretty good
You should
stuff.
start a cooking channel. That's what you should do.
I know. There's just I have so many ideas in my head. I just don't have time,
Yeah,
man. I'm like,
of
oh,
course, of course.
so
Understood. Well, I mean, so now that you mentioned you have no time, what do you do in your free time apart from making videos and all that? I mean, you
yeah.
mentioned you have a fishing trip with your son after this. You know, what are some things that do you spend it with your family or do you have some time alone with your friends or what does Ken like to do in his free
Yeah,
time?
I'm a family man here. It's all about
Amazing.
family. If we can,
Yeah.
like today, I got work today, but today's actually my birthday today,
Oh,
and
happy birthday. That I did not even know this. See, this information is not publicly available. I
uh,
was trying to do a lot of research on you. I mean, apart from being your friend, I did not know this. This is not,
yeah.
well,
So
congrats. Happy birthday. That's
thank you. And
I'm
so
actually honored for you to be on my show on my birthday. No, actually, because you made time to be here, I have to thank you. I mean, for even showing up to this, that's a huge. I mean, I can't. I'm at a loss for words actually.
it's fine, man.
But yeah,
I I'm not a big like, hey, let's do something crazy for my birthday guy. I'm just like, oh, it's a birthday.
yeah.
Okay, cool. But so my son wants to take me fishing for my birthday, so that's why we're going fishing.
Oh, wow,
So
that's amazing.
yeah, so we're
I
gonna go
think
fishing.
that's a great relationship you have with your children. I see it all the time in your Instagram posts and your vlogs that you've seen that you put on YouTube. So family is everything to you then. Yeah,
Oh man,
family is
yeah, it's all that matters. I mean, really, I mean, I do have some hobbies. I love golfing. That's like one of
okay.
my big passions. I love to golf. It's just expensive, so I don't get to do it very often.
Right.
But yeah, I was a big sports guy growing up. Like sports was my
Mm.
life growing up. I played American football, basketball, and baseball, um, all through high school, and so like sports is a big thing. So I like watching. I'm a 49ers fan in the NFL. I'm a Lakers fan in the NBA, and don't get to watch it all the time, but I am a sports guy. But really, it's just all about family. Like, hey, when you guys want to go out and go do something, cool, let's go do this, let's go do that. And the nice thing about now, my business is I work from home, so I get to see them all the time, which is
Right.
great.
Right.
You know, so I
So
get to have
how
lunch
was
with them every day.
yeah,
And
that
so,
that's amazing.
yeah,
So I'm gonna obviously, I mean, it goes without saying that family would have been one of the biggest, backbones to your growth and to your success. So how was that support from your children? Because you said this entire journey started because your kids wanted to make some toy review videos. How did they feel when you told them Dad's a superstar? How
oh,
did they feel?
they don't care, dude. They think they're more famous than I am, dude. So
And I'm pretty sure they are, but
oh, dude, they are like
that's not.
so. Yeah, it's so cool because like to them, I'm just dad, of course. That
Yeah,
like they're like they don't get it. Like they don't care. And honestly, for me, I don't feel like I'm a superstar. I'm just like I make videos and people like them.
yeah,
I made some friendships. It's cool.
yeah.
But what's really cool though is so my youngest son Connor, he we are practicing Christians here, and
Okay,
he loves church. Like he
all right.
loves it, and he's actually created his own YouTube channel.
Wow.
He has full church services, and he's got like people watch his church services from around the country. He has a guy in Hungary who watches every week. There's a couple Dad Stand fans who watch from India, Tamil Nadu. Like he's got people all over the world, and it's just amazing. Like he's just a sweetheart that's like got this wonderful love for God, and like and so it's really fun to watch him
That's beautiful.
build his channel.
That's beautiful. You should.
And
I really want to see this channel. I'm Catholic myself.
okay,
Um, yeah, and I would love to watch this. That's amazing. Yeah,
it's really cool. It's inspiring for us as parents to watch,
of course.
and then my other son, we still do the family on our family channel is called JCTV Family Vlog.
Right.
And so whenever we do family vacations, we still vlog those. We still record those.
Okay.
So we can have memories of all
Yeah,
those
yeah,
trips.
yeah. Of course.
So we still do those. Those are super fun. But like, they don't care, dude. They're like, this dad, dude, he's not that cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, it's sort of humbling as well at times, you know. But I mean, I can't say much about you. You're so humble. I called you a superstar, and you're like, no, I'm not a superstar. But I do think a lot of people do think you're a superstar. That's for a fact. Because I think, you know, you put yourself you know, out in the open where you're reacting and you're giving your opinions. And I recently watched your Good, Bad, and Ugly reaction, and the insights that you had on like all the weapons being used, or like the cinematography in the film and the music. You were like, I think it's something that we lack nowadays. And I'll tell you something from a perspective of mine. I feel like Indian audiences are very, very judgy. They seem to not like. Well, I don't want to say not like, but they seem to find and identify whatever is bad first before they go and even consider the good parts. So I'm kind of the opposite. I like to see the good in things first before I go and be like, oh, well, that could have been better. And that's such a contrasting, well, I want to say opinion, I guess, with at least kids my age. Well, the Gen Zs. I'm not a kid myself, but well, people my age. It's a very common consensus where, you know, we have to criticize first and then appreciate. And I think that's something that should change. And what you offer is exactly that. You say, well, you know, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's appreciate the art. Let's appreciate the hard work. What about that particularly, about your love for appreciation of things? What else do you apply on in your life? Do you look at the good? You're a police detective. I mean, that is like a very contrasting contrasting factor there, that you're like, do you look for the good, or like do you like really find out the nitty-gritty details? So actually I'm a bit more interested about, oh my goodness, I feel like we don't have time for this. Ken, you are you're so interesting to talk to. Please tell me a little bit about that. Like your the fact that you're a detective, and now you know, your interest in showing the good side of things.
Yeah. I mean, for me, being a police officer, obviously you see the bad of everything, right? We see the worst of the worst. You know, the guys who, you know, I worked crimes against children for a while, and that was tough. You know, you see things that you're not meant to see. Like, the human brain shouldn't see that often, right? You know, I went into major accident investigation team, and I saw death crashes. I saw death all the time, right? And so it was, for me, the way I got through that stuff and created the mindset for me was a lot of my faith, you know,
Right.
my Christian walk, and knowing that there is something on the other side waiting for us. So that's something that helps you get through a lot of those things.
Okay.
But for me also, I think it had to do a lot with the way my parents raised me. My parents were just amazing married, you know, couple. The way I say was, because my mom passed away about 6 years ago from Alzheimer's now.
Sorry about that.
But they were such good examples of how to love people unconditionally. Like, it, you know, even when they make mistakes, right? So even as a cop, it was very rare that I ever got upset with anybody, or, you know, because to me, it was like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, but like, I'm going to investigate. And if you committed this crime, I'm sorry. But I remember having conversations with guys, driving them to the jail, you know, and having conversations with them, you know, like, hey man, this doesn't have to define you as a person. Like, you know, like, you made a mistake today, but you know, you're going to get out here in a little while. Like, you need to start making some better decisions, because I can see you're a good person. You just got to make better decisions, you know?
Yeah.
Now that doesn't go, you know, but the really heinous people who are just bad people, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have that conversation with them. But a lot of the people that, you know, end up getting arrested, it's just they make dumb mistakes. And
Right.
they're drinking too much or they did this. And then you're like, I could tell you're not a bad person. You just gotta figure this out. You gotta figure your life
Yeah.
out. So a lot of it was just the way I was raised. Don't get me wrong. Like somebody wanted to fight, we'll fight. We'll handle business, but that wasn't what I wanted. I never wanted it to go that way. It was
Okay.
always, I would rather talk to this person. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's try to, and so in police work, that's how it went. But like in life in general, I think when it, when we think about the positives, like you said, a lot of people just want to go negative and it's so easy behind a
Yeah.
computer now. That's the real
Right.
problem
That's
because
so true. You're right.
all of this stuff, I guarantee people wouldn't say to somebody's face.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
like I get negative comments on YouTube, all the time, like, hey man, like you're just faking it, blah, 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 blah. Now, if I was standing right in front of them, you think they would be like, man, you're just faking it, dude. No way. They're not going to do that.
They're not gonna do that. You're
They're
right.
not. So to me, I call them keyboard warriors. Like I could care less about those people,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the world does need more positive
Energy,
mindset, positive
mindset.
energy, positive
Yeah.
mindset. I mean, honestly, when it comes to the film stuff, it's like
Right.
I can recognize that, hey, this film isn't a top 10 film,
Yeah.
but their budget was probably a tenth of what maybe another budget was, and they still were able to make this amazing film. To me, I'm like, this
Yeah.
is incredible. This is cool. That's the way I see it. I don't see it as, oh, this film is garbage compared to this one. Like, I know I can see like, okay, this is not as good as production value as something else, right? I
Mm.
get it, but that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to, number one, what is a movie for? To entertain us,
Yeah.
right? Was I entertained? Yeah, I was entertaining. That was cool. Like I'm good with that. I very rarely be like, oh, that was not very good. And if I see something that I think is really like, oh, I don't know if I could react to this because I want to be truthful, then I just
Mm.
won't react to it. I
Okay.
just,
Yeah. That's fair
yeah,
enough. Because
because
I
I don't
think it's
want to
it.
talk
Yeah.
trash about anybody or anybody's work that they worked hard for. So
Yeah. That I think it's like the morals viewpoint. That the fact that you're taking your stand. You're like, you know what? If I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. I'll stay true to myself. And I think personally, I think that's one of the few reasons why you are where you are now, and you're growing. And I think that a lot of people, at the end of the day, should stick to their guts and just do the right thing. Right?
yeah,
And I think I loved talking to you about the entire, the philosophy behind positive mindset and just having a good outlook on life. And I think if there's one thing you can say to people now, to my audience perhaps, or even yours, like a piece of advice that you give to them, what would that final advice be?
I think honestly, it kind of comes back to what we teach our children. Let nothing hold you back. I mean, if you think, or if you've got a dream, you have a passion, you have something that you want to do, don't let society tell you that you can't do that because you think, because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So like, you might think you have limitations. Maybe it's, I don't really speak well, whatever. Okay. So teach yourself how to speak a little bit better, work on that, you know, but there's really not anything that we put our minds to, we can really do, honestly, except
Yeah.
for like fly or, we're not, you know, but you
Well,
get what I'm saying
yeah.
though. It's
Well,
like,
well, yeah, yeah, of course.
you know,
That I think you're absolutely right.
yeah, it's just stop letting people judge, like determine what you're going to do with your life and what you're going to do with your passions. Who would have thought some old white dude from, Southern California was going to find South Indian film industry and create this passion out of it, like, and make friendships around the world,
Right.
out of it. It's crazy to think, but especially with today's technology, we really can't do so much and be so much to other people as well. So, yeah,
You're absolutely right about that. Well, you just said break the boundaries, sky's the limit. Um, so I think that basically concludes this podcast. Again, I'd just like to say happy birthday once
Thank
again,
you.
and thank you so much for taking your time to come here. It's been, it took me 3 years, but I finally decided, and I was like, we're doing this, and it couldn't have happened if you hadn't well to do so. Thank you for taking a chance on me and for joining my show here. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Have a great day.
you too. I'm excited for your show, and best of luck
Thank you.
to the whole process for you, man. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I truly appreciate it.